Hey guys, and welcome back to my podcast. I'm so excited. This is episode 10. Just like yesterday, we started episode 1 all over again, because of the whole transition thing from, talking about British history, the royal family, and British movies and series, to just focusing majorly on improving on your English communication skills. Okay, so on today's podcast episode, we're going to be talking about how to improve on your business English communication skills. Now, we or you do business every day, and you cannot take away the fact that, business is part of life. Maybe you want to make a purchase, you want to sell something to someone, you're at the office, you're working, and time and again, these scenes play up, these instances where you have to talk to someone about business, you have to communicate with a co-worker or something in that light, and you just have to not screw things up. Yes, you can't, you just have to not screw things up. And so on today's podcast, we're going to be looking at 4 ways to improve your business English communication skills. Now, these ways are straightforward. You probably might have heard them before, but that does not matter, because that thing about being repetitive with the things you're hearing, so that you be more grounded in them. Now, before I go on, I would just like to recommend 2 applications for improving on your business English communication skills. The first one is a podcast like mine, is Business English Pod, and if you haven't heard about them, you just did. You can integrate your learning into your phone. You can have more than 200 business lessons covering everything from vocabulary to grammar to practical skills for your business and technical needs. And the second one is Fluent You, and Fluent You is inspiration behind this podcast episode. On my YouTube channel, that is Learn English with Ruth, I sort of did some short videos on business English idioms, where I talked about certain idioms, and then when I got on here to do my podcast, I'm like, okay, why not just go the business way? Anyways, it's just easier. So that's what I'm diving into this path. And I think for the next few episodes, we're just going to be focusing on the whole business English and how to improve your speaking. Why in the world is a cock crowing in my podcast? This is broad daylight, and I cannot understand actually why a cock is crowing by 1 p.m. in the afternoon. It beats my mind. It's done it again. But please ignore the cock crowing in the background. Okay, so so the next few episodes are going to be focused on business English, how to improve on your business English, because you need to engage in conversations steadily, and you cannot afford to be screwing up, or you cannot afford to be scared about it. So Fluent You is another business business English application that you can use to improve on your business English skills. They provide authentic videos and turn them into professional language learning lessons. So please ensure you just check these 2 out for your own for your own good. Now, you might have the best idea in the world, but if you can't talk effectively with your team or your supervisor, no one would ever know. Let me give this instance. Have you been in maybe a classroom setting where the teacher asks you a question and you know the answer to it, but because you're so scared, you're so unsure about yourself, and most importantly, you do not know how to put it in a sentence. You're like, oh my god, I know the answer, but I don't know how to say it. And so if you're like that, you find out that for that situation or that scenario, no one would ever know that kind of weird, the repetitiveness, but no one will ever know that and you end up feeling, oh, I should have said it, I should have talked, I should have just tried to say it. And so improving on your business English communication skills is easier than you think it might be. We're going to be looking at the 4 methods or ways, amazing methods that you can use to improve on your business English skills. Now, the first thing you can do is, number 1, I know you learn words, to improve on your vocabulary, to improve on your grammar, you learn words, but what you can do to improve on your business English communication skills is that you can learn sentences and not just words. In many cases, simply learning a word isn't enough. So the question is, how do you use the word? Instead of just memorizing important words and their definitions, I suggest that you memorize 1 or 2 sentences containing the word. Let's take the word clarify, for example. This word is commonly used in business English to make, something clearer or more understandable. So instead of just memorizing the word clarify, you can memorize sentences. For example, you can say, we need to clarify a few details. So that is a sentence on how to use clarify. You can also say, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for clarifying that. So that is also a sentence. Now you can easily use these sentences at meetings or conferences, to seek a better understanding of what someone has to say. For example, you can say, I think I need more clarifications on what you just said. Clarification is from the word clarify. Don't worry, it's not too hard, really. So you can say, I need more clarifications on what you just said. Okay, and then the more you do this, the more confident you become in different situations, and you'll be able to change words as the case may be. Number 2, you have to expand your vocabulary, but you have to do it with business news media. One of the most effective ways to increase your vocabulary is through business news media. By reading and listening to business news, you'll learn new words, expressions, and even idioms that are relevant to the professional world. The more you read business news, the more comfortable you become with terminologies related to finance, regulations, and other issues that might be pertinent to your work. You'll find many useful business news resources online, such as Reuters Business News, the Harvard Business Review, the NBC Business News, and so on and so forth. Now you can also subscribe to the New York Times, and this will give you access to fresh, relevant news stories every day in their business day session. Number 3, target multiple communication skills at the same time. Now, many business English learners tend to focus most of their effort on learning speaking skills, because speaking is so important for communicating in meetings, negotiations, job interviews, etc. However, the other communication skills such as reading, listening, and writing are also just as important. So of course, the importance of writing in business, and I'm sure you spend a good part of your day replying to emails, writing reports, preparing all the documents. One of the best ways to develop your writing skills, other than constant practice, is to read actively. When you encounter useful business phrases in your reading, make sure to note them down so that you can use them in your own writing. Listening is also important too. Listening may be challenging in the beginning because you don't control the speed of the words, and there are many different accents and speaking styles to become familiar with. But with practice, constant practice, and much more practice, you'll find yourself understanding more and discovering how to improve your own speech and pronunciation. And remember, the point of this is not to limit yourself to developing just 1 or 2 skill sets or skill areas at a time. The quickest way to improve is by targeting multiple communication skills at the same time, and this is of utmost importance. Number 4 is plan your communication ahead of time when possible. Now, this is not a herculean task. Before you embark on any at all business kind of business communication, whether it's to make a conference call or write an email to a customer, always take time to think about what and how to convey your message. Think about the grammar you'll use. Think about the words and phrases that will make your message clearer. In other words, just plan your message. For instance, before attending a meeting, Look through the agenda to see what topics will be discussed. Then make notes about what you plan to say, including the grammar and any words or phrases that would be useful. And also use these phrases to make meaningful sentences. This type of preparation doesn't just ensure that you sound more competent and professional in your business communication, it also serves as extra grammar and speaking practice that will get you fluent faster. Now the last one is like a bonus. I love giving bonuses. Now we like to answer questions, right? So as a business English learner, you are probably more used to answering questions than asking them, and you're often more focused on what to say and how to say something, and that's okay. But asking questions is a necessary part of doing business as well, and you often need to seek the opinions and ideas of others to get your job done. So how do you know that asking questions is a great way to sharpen your listening skills and learning new business language as well? So I'm sure you've heard many kinds of questions from people around your work. Some common questions are, what do you think of this idea? Or how do you propose we handle this? Or are there other options we can consider? So for a start, you can memorize questions like this and then ask them at the right time. Don't just ask because I said ask, really, but you can ask and then be sure to pay very close attention to the answers you receive, and while also taking note of the content of the answers, which could help you do your job. So also listening for new and unfamiliar language that might be useful to you. Yes, so I hope you've learned a lot today on this episode. It was more in depth than I expected, really. So I hope you learned a lot today, and we live in a business world. If you're done with school or you're in school, there is no way you can do without talking about business related things, or there's no way you can do without having a business communication with whosoever and whenever. It can just sort of pop up on you. It can be planned. You attend conferences, you do networking and stuff. So having good business English communication can open doors for you, and just make sure that you communicate, you pass across your ideas without any obstructions whatsoever. So thank you so much for listening, and be sure to follow my podcast on Spotify and Anchor, and also if you want to see my lovely face, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Learn English with Ruth, and then follow me on my Facebook at Learn English with Ruth, and Instagram at Learn English with _Ruth. And until I see you next time, have a lovely day, and I wish you a splendid business English communication the next time you have to talk to someone about it. Bye guys.